Bradley, let's go back to Trump's triumphant win, because the money and Trump are, well, they're always related. The stock market boomed after the president-elect's win. Boy, that sounds nice to say president-elect. Be better in a couple months to say president. And that means the people with skin in the game in America are optimistic about the Trump presidency. Let's go ahead and talk about that and more, of course, with our next guest, Bradley Devlin. He is the politics editor at the Daily Signal. Bradley, always good to see you, sir. So you're not a Wall Street trader, I don't believe, though. Maybe, I don't know, maybe you do it on the side. But what's your take on why we're seeing this bullish response? What's happening? What are people sensing out there?
Yeah, I mean, it was funny calling my father. I thankfully, I'm the only person in my family who's in politics. My family comes from a small business background, and they say, hey, you know, a lot of guys who own businesses think just like I do. We've been sitting here with a lagging economy for 3.5 years. We're not going to make any big hiring decisions or invest in new properties or new enterprises with, you know, the landscape being what it is and the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act expiring next year and Kamala Harris presidency possibly coming down the pike. But with Donald Trump, knowing that you're probably going to get a continuation of those tax cuts, knowing that you're going to get a deregulatory agenda that's going to lower the cost of energy, of groceries, and hopefully of prices just generally, right? Those raw inputs are going to be more business friendly. And so what are you going to see? You're ultimately going to see business confidence increase. Whether that actually materializes is another thing. I will also say just the lack of uncertainty about the election and what could possibly happen in the next few months before Trump's inauguration, right? We're not going to have any sort of long extended legal fight over this election because of how quickly the race was called, and the margin of victory for President Trump was, I think, shocking to anyone. I think a lot of people thought he had a good chance of winning the Electoral College, but the popular vote, that really, I think, calmed market's fears as well, and I think that's why you're seeing this big run.
Right. And to your last point, the fact that there was such certainty and that voters went into, that investors went into the day yesterday having some real concrete information to go on. It seems to me that that's what caused that injection that we saw yesterday. But is it unrealistic to believe that we're going to just see this run, this string of weeks of great markets? Or is this just a one-time flash in the pan thing, and we're going to have to see some improvement over months as opposed to just this one moment in time, if you will?
Yeah, I mean, you might have a run for an extended period of time while he's the president-elect, but when he becomes president, you're going to be faced with an order of operations problem for his agenda, right? If you slap a tariff on, but you haven't been able to deregulate some of the energy regulations that the Biden-Harris administration has put in place, and energy costs remain high, that might scare some investors, that might scare some business owners who don't want to fork up that money and saying, hey, well, now my inputs are going up. Right now, prices are going up. It's going to make me more reticent to increase the wages of American workers. It's going to make me more reticent to hire. And so if the Trump administration and the Trump transition team can be clear about their order of operations, right? We've talked a lot about, oh, day one this, day one that. Well, not everything can be day one. You need to lower the cost of energy before you go and put tariffs back onto the American economy, back onto our trading partners in order to boost American industry at home. So once they tackle that problem and we have more confidence and knowledge about that order of operations, I think you'll see the markets continue to react well.
Hey, Bradley, Kamala Harris gave a mixed message at her concession speech yesterday. She talked about upholding the Constitution, but there's still plenty of slurs that she lobbed at President Trump and his supporters as alleged enemies of democracy and all of that. Do you think there's any chance that Democrats are going to try to put the country first this time instead of going on this revenge campaign like they did in Trump's first term? Because the truth of the matter is the numbers did not lie. I mean, Trump was up among men, when I say when he was up, I don't mean he was winning every single of these categories. He won men. He didn't win women, but he was up 3 points. He was up 13 among Hispanics from 2020. He was up 6 among Gen Z. Union households, Catholics, evangelicals, you just go down the list. It's everywhere. And not only that, Bradley, but even in the states that he lost, like liberal states like New York and New Jersey, I mean, he was cutting that deficit. Like New Jersey was a plus 12 4 years ago, and Trump only lost it by 5. New York, he gained 11 points. Maryland, he gained 10 points. I mean, Democrats have a reckoning on their hands.
Yeah, I think they do, and deservedly so. I mean, they talked about democracy being the number one issue of the campaign. Little did they know, whenever they saw that public polling, it wasn't just their voters saying that. It was Trump voters, too. People who said democracy was the most important issue in these exit polls were like split right down the middle between Trump and Harris. They go around saying that, Trump's this giant threat to democracy, and then they put up a candidate who hasn't received a single vote in a Democratic primary for the presidency in 2020 and in 2024. So I think the reckoning on their hands is going to be prevent defense, and they're going to be vindicated. They're going to feel vindicated in 2026 when they probably crush Republicans in the midterms. The reason that I say that is the Senate map looks really bad for Republicans. And the second thing is there's a lot of work that needs to be done that sometimes might make the American people feel a little queasy. Deporting 10 million people is a massive undertaking, and the mainstream media and the Democrats are going to be all over it, saying that, Trump is yet again the next Hitler, when all Trump is trying to do is rectify the damage that's occurred over the last 4 years. So realistically, they've got 18 months to do this. And the Democrats are going to play prevent defense. They're going to win, most likely, in the midterms because of the Senate map and because there's going to be a series of really difficult votes. And they're going to feel vindicated in that strategy. Yet again, how that prepares everybody for 2028 remains to be seen. I don't know who's on the Democratic bench that can really challenge a movement like this.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we know Joe Biden's not. All right, Bradley, thanks so much. Appreciate you as always. Thank you.
Joe Biden would have done better.
That's right. Stop. Get me off stage, quick. Okay. Will President-elect Trump keep his promise to faith leaders about allowing direct access to him in the Oval Office? We're going to talk about what that may look like in our moment of faith. Back in a moment.